I believe many of you have heard of the term Akiya. This word appears in a lot of news articles and it refers to empty or abandoned houses in Japan. It has become a hot topic, especially among foreigners, because some Akiya are extremely cheap and in many cases foreigners can purchase them without much restriction. So in this video, I'm going to talk about whether it's worth getting an Akiya, and if you are truly interested, what are the ways you can go about doing it. Hi everyone, SG Dad here. My family and I have just relocated to Japan for a little over 3 months now, and one of the topics that my friends and viewers keep asking about is Akiya. I think many Singaporeans are interested in property, especially for people at my age around 40. And with property prices in Singapore and many other countries increasing rapidly for the past few years, people naturally start looking at more affordable options, and that is how Kia comes into the picture. And I think one big reason Japan attracts so many foreign buyers is because property here is still investable. What I mean by investable is, unlike some countries where you have to pay extra stamp duties or with certain restrictions, Japan doesn't really have those requirements. As a foreigner, you can pretty much buy property the same way a local does. Having said that, many of you may have read the news that policies are changing rapidly and Japan has been tightening rules for foreigners in many different areas. So it wouldn't be a surprise if property regulations eventually become stricter too. For now though, everything is still quite open, no major restrictions yet, but it's worth keeping an eye on as the situation evolves. Let me start with my personal situation. For us, we did not consider Akiya when deciding to relocate for two simple reasons. First, the location of Akiya is often limited. Now, to be fair, Akiya are not only found in rural areas. That's a misconception. There are Akiya in good locations, but they are very limited and in high demand. For our family, location is extremely important, especially since we are living here long term with our kids. We hope to let our kids grow up in a young and vibrant area with a lot of other kids around and not some countryside or rural area. And we also couldn't afford to wait for the right Akiya to appear in the city. Second, Akiya often involves a long and tedious renovation process. And it is not only renovation, sometimes it involves demolition and removal of items, which is not a straightforward process here, especially if you're not living in Japan. If you do not speak any Japanese, that will also make the process many times harder. After moving over, I did manage to speak to a company that can assist foreigners in English, and I will share more about that later. So, because of these two reasons, we focus only on houses that are move in conditions and somewhere in Fukuoka City. And that is how we ended up buying the house that we are living in right now. Now, I may consider getting one in the future. And also, let me share some of my opinions on whether an Akiya is suitable for you if you are looking into it. If you're thinking about buying an Akiya and turning it into an Airbnb or guest house, it's important to consider the realities carefully. Japan currently has many regulations around short term renters, and these rules are becoming even stricter. On top of that, many Akiya are located in quiet residential areas. So, operating an Airbnb there could create friction with the local community. The last thing you want is to come in as foreigners, buy a cheap house, and unintentionally disrupt the neighborhood with your frequent guests moving in and out. There are also significant operating costs if you run a guest house from overseas. You will need to pay platform fees, cleaning fees, and management fees to the company that handles the day to day operations. Once all of these added up, the potential profit becomes much smaller than what you imagine. A more realistic use case for Akiya is to buy one, renovate it, and rent it out long term. If the property is in a good location, long-term rental income can be much more stable compared to running a guest house. But you still need a property management company, and although they do take a portion of your rental revenue, their fees are generally lower compared to a guest house management firms. The entire process is also much more passive, and you can just collect a stable yield without having to do much. The downside is that good location Akiya suitable for long-term rental are not easy to find. They need to be near amenities like train stations to attract reliable tenants. And even if you do find one, you have to factor in the renovation and initial setup costs required to make the house livable, which can be quite substantial. And the final scenario, which I personally will consider getting an Akiya because of this, is using it as a holiday home. This means that you can choose a more rural or scenic area, and if you travel to Japan often, you can simply rent a car, drive to your own place, and enjoy your stay. I think that's very doable, and honestly, this was part of my early retirement plan as well. And because it's your holiday home, you don't need to worry about visas or residency. You can just visit Japan as a tourist, stay up to 180 days a year, enjoy the spring and autumn here, and avoid the summer and winter. In the future, I might explore doing this in other prefectures outside of Fukuoka and possibly have a small retreat home elsewhere if it makes sense. Before I moved here, I started researching on companies that could help foreigners with Akiya. And I came across a Japanese company based in Tokyo called Sumica. The good thing is that they offer kind of like a complete solution to foreigners, from buying to renovation until it is livable. And the good thing is also they have English support, and communication with them is easy via WhatsApp. All their contact information is on their website, which I will link below so you can check it out if you are interested. I've spoken to their representative. What they are doing is quite interesting and may be of interest to those who are seriously consider buying an Akiya. I may share more insights about that in future videos and maybe some case studies from the company. That's all I have to share for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.